Hunter is the Professional Development Coordinator for Brunswick County Schools. She taught social studies for 10 years at South Brunswick High School and at other schools before that. Laura was named the 2012 Teacher of the Year in Brunswick County and a 2012 Woman to Watch by Wilma Magazine. She attended UNC Greensboro and Marlborough College and is currently working toward a master's in education at UNCW. Please welcome Laura Hunter.
Good morning. Am I working? Good morning. I've been a career educator for 12 years here in North Carolina, and for the past 2 years, I have worked in another capacity to support and defend public education in this state as Teacher of the Year in Brunswick County last year and as Social Studies Teacher of the Year the year before that. It has been a journey. And we, in fact, in education right now are on a journey. And I want to invite you to take part in that journey with me today. But before we can get there, I have to acknowledge that when you walked in this room this morning, you brought a whole lot of education with you. So what I would like for you to do right now is close your eyes and bring into your mind's eye the very last classroom that you sat in as a high school student. It might be a bit horrifying. What did it look like? Who was there? What was your teacher doing? It might have looked very similar to this classroom right up here. And this presents a problem for me because all of you, I would expect, have sat in a classroom probably very similar to this for at least, bare minimum, 13 years of your life. That equates to 15,000 hours of educational experience at the very bare minimum. And that's a 15,000 hour problem. Because when we talk about 15,000 hours of doing anything, we expect to be experts in that thing. So whether you consciously admit it or not, you think that you are an expert in education. So when we talk about education today, which is what I am going to talk about, I have to acknowledge that you all think you know what I'm going to talk about. We need to forget about this classroom. This is the 20th century classroom, and we no longer are in the 20th century. We are in the 21st century. And so we need to talk about classrooms today with a much different lens. So, unclutter your minds, get rid of this image, and we're moving on to the 21st century. Are you ready? All right. Education traditionally has been a marketplace-driven event. In the past century, we needed literate and numerate students to work the manufacturing jobs and to build our industrial complex here in America. But that is no longer the case. We are not a manufacturing center of the world. We have moved those jobs to other places. In fact, we are now a service-oriented industry. And in this new paradigm, education is critical. But the question is, what kind of education? We see that people walking out of college today are not finding the jobs that they think they want to work. In fact, we know that the type of degree that you get doesn't necessarily mean that you have skills that are marketable skills. Just look at the percentage of unemployed, or perhaps more importantly, underemployed college graduates. My mission, and the mission of the educators that are working in this country right now, is to get these folks hired. But that's a challenge, and here's why. We are preparing students today for jobs that don't even exist yet. We're preparing them to use technology that hasn't been invented yet. And we're preparing them to solve problems that we don't even know exist yet. That is a daunting challenge. But we're up to the task. Here's how we're tackling it. We have come to you, business community, and asked you, what can we do to prepare the future workforce? Here's what you have told us. You have told us you need 4 things from our students. Literacy. When students walk into the classroom today in kindergarten, they hit the ground running. It is literacy boot camp. We need for our preschool programs to get our kids ready to be literate the moment they walk in the doors of public school. They need to be able to read and they need to be able to write as soon as possible because they live in a digital environment where those 2 things drive how they're going to engage in the world and how they're going to engage in the work of their classroom. Numeracy. Reading, writing, and arithmetic, right? The 3 R's. We know that the language of mathematics is critical to being able to be successful in today's digital environment. But finding the right answer is no longer the most important thing. We know that there are multiple ways to get to the right answer. And that's what today's mission in classrooms are. Can you find all of the ways to solve a problem and use them all interchangeably? You've also told us that you need people who can collaborate and communicate. Rows of desks in classrooms are no longer the way we do business in classrooms today. People work in teams in business, so they should learn in teams at school. Learning how to manage your time, learning how to communicate with people on a team, how to manage a project, and how to pull your own weight, those are skills that are marketable in today's workforce. Finally, critical thinking and problem solving. It is incredibly important that students no longer just cram things into their heads. They have devices that they literally are born connected to that help them find the data that they need at their fingertips. We think content is important, for sure, but what's more important to us is how they use that content. How do they engage with the data that's readily available at their fingertips? Can they use it in new and novel ways? Can they make an argument and defend it with evidence? Can they think critically about a problem and execute its solution? Can they use their creativity to spark innovation? Those 4 skills, literacy, numeracy, collaboration, and critical thinking, are pretty important. And they're the mission of today's classroom. But how are we doing it? Are we doing a good job of making that happen today? Well, yes. But it's a slow process. Because while our learners today are firmly rooted in the 21st century, our teachers are still 20th century learners. It's a problem. So what have we done in the educational community to combat that problem? Well, we've turned our classrooms into learning laboratories where we work collaboratively together as educators to figure out how to spark innovation within our own community to meet the instructional needs of our students. Across this nation, and right here in southeastern North Carolina, we have teachers who are engaged in the business of research to learn how to meet the needs of our 21st century learner. Let me take you on a quick journey into my own classroom, where for the past 2 years, I have been engaged in research on inquiry-based learning. Here's what it looked like.
This journey has taught me that incorporating and practicing thinking skills in my classroom should be the most important part of the instruction that takes place in my classroom.
Asking your own question causes you to think by yourself and do it by yourself. because you might not always have a teacher with you?
Yes, it's hard. Yes, it takes lots and lots of practice, but the payoff is big because I produce lifelong learners, not just learners that are in my space.
It's more interactive. You interact with everything. You have hands-on, and it's not just handing you a piece of paper and writing information from a book.
Actually, teaching thinking through inquiry processes has made my content instruction better too. I'm remembering what it's like to be a learner. I'm delving deeper and rethinking the hows and the whys of my instruction.
You have to know how to ask your own questions to better understand something. And people describe things or ask things in different ways that are easier to them.
I learned that it's hard to develop new habits. I really had to make myself stick to thinking routines and give kids enough time to complete their activities. Like the QFT, my instinct is, even still, to go the fast route and tell them the answer. I need to practice patience, but I also learned that my kids ask great questions. I don't teach any upper level classes, and my students really impressed me, and they continue to impress me with their growth.
In the past, we might have asked the question of ourselves, why don't we just step back and let teachers teach? In fact, I hear this a lot. In the moment that we live right now, we are embroiled in lots of conversation about public education. And one of the fallback things to say is, let's just let teachers teach. Well, I would contend that that's the wrong question and the wrong thing to say. In the 21st century, what we should be asking ourselves is, are our classrooms places where all learners are learning? Teachers and students together. Thank you.